The last two lines of the gospel that Deacon Matthew just read really set the stage for what our readings are all about today. Now, Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples that are not written in this book, but these are written that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that through this belief you may have life in his name. We just heard the famous episode of the story of the resurrection and Thomas, doubting Thomas. You know, much is made about his doubt, but little is ever said about his faith, Thomas's faith. In other words, what did Thomas believe in? And just as we come to know what someone believes by watching what they do, we can come to know what Thomas believed in by watching what he did and what he had said. In the gospel, Thomas speaks up three different times. The first time was when their friend Lazarus had died. When Jesus wanted to go back to Judea to raise Lazarus from the dead, and he said to the apostles, "Let us go." And the apostles all said to him, "You want to go back? You want to go back where they're going to kill you? They want to kill you, Jesus. Why would you want to go back?" But what Thomas said was this: "Let us go back with him so we too may die." What does that say about Thomas's belief? Think about what he says. Thomas could easily have said, like so many others, "Yeah, okay, that's it. This guy's crazy. He has a death wish. I want out," and walk away. But instead, he said, "No. Let us go with him. Let us go and die with him." Ask yourself this question: by saying that, who or what is Thomas placing his faith in? In himself or in the Lord? The second time Thomas says something in the gospel is at the Last Supper. Jesus just finished talking about his upcoming death, saying, "I have prepared a place for you. Where I go, you will follow." And Thomas naturally asked the question that nobody else was strong enough to ask, but everybody was wondering, "Okay, Lord, where is that? We do not know the way you are going." Not a question of doubt, but a question of actually trying to understand so that he could follow. And Jesus answers, "I am the way and the truth, and he who believes in me shall find life." Then the third and last time Thomas speaks in the gospel is the episode we just heard. "Unless I place my hands in his side and feel the wounds in his hands, I will not believe." But even there, Thomas's words are necessary. He stands in for all of us who weren't there. He asked for proof. Give me a sign, give me a tangible sign, something to really grab hold of. And Jesus offers us just that. Here is my body for you. The same body that died on the cross is here present for you. Thomas is our witness. Through him, we can have faith. And from that moment on, what does Thomas do? From that moment on, Thomas follows the Lord unconditionally. He devoted the rest of his life to preaching Christ, to letting others know Christ, including us, even to the point of martyrdom. You know, my grandmother had a familiar saying, I'm sure some of your grandparents did too. The proof is in the pudding. Never understood that. But what she meant, I found out, was that the truth of the recipe can only be verified once you taste the pudding. The same can be said about Thomas and his faith. His faith in Christ was certainly true because it is seen in everything he said and everything he did. He followed the Lord. He lived as he believed. This has to be true for all the disciples of Christ. As in our first reading, their faith, the faith of the early church, their belief in Jesus Christ changed the way they lived. They lived in harmony with one another. They broke bread together, the Eucharist. They worshiped together. They followed the teachings of Christ and his church and the apostles. And they mostly lived in joy. As St. John writes, "For the love of God is this, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. For whoever is begotten by God conquers the world." And the victory that conquers the world is our faith. Who indeed is the victor over the world, but the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? Many, many things were given. Many signs were given so that you and I may believe. All of this is what Thomas believed in. That is what he lived his whole life holding on to. The same has to be true for all of us. And so the question we have to ask ourselves is quite simple. And it is this: if someone were to look at your life and see how you live it, see what you say and see what you do, in whom or in what would they say you believed in? How will they know your faith?